I'm now joined by Elijah Magnier, who's a war zone correspondent and military analyst. Elijah, thanks so much for joining us. So, we heard from our reporter just there. It seems that Israel is, of course, intensifying its bombardments, airstrikes. We're seeing more violence. The ground operation is expanding. Now, to northern Gaza itself, the Israelis say that they have now reached the gates of Gaza City. But what really then comes next? What do you think the game plan is?
Thank you for having me. The Israelis now are engaged on different axes in Gaza City, particularly in the north, cutting the north from the south. We have seen how they have break into the Gaza Strip from very soft areas that are less populated to start and venture into more populated area, but opening the road using the airstrike, the artillery, and the sea to bombard and flatten all the houses that represent a potential danger to the Israelis. So the bottom line is Israel would like to isolate all the north, cut it completely from the south, and perhaps break into the city and then remove all the Palestinians from the north to the south to make sure that there is a buffer zone. Now, the only obstacle for the Israelis to do that is the size and the intensity of the Palestinian resistance in the area, because so far we have seen that the Palestinian resistance is starting to engage with the Israeli invasion, and we start to attack the Israeli army at the suburb of Gaza in an open area. They're coming out of tunnels. They have set up traps inside the city. They have hundreds of tunnels inside the city. They know how to move in an area that they have been very familiar with. And they have a very high morale because we've seen them on the 26th and on the 27th, both days attacking the Erez crossing that is outside the wall. That indicates not importantly the number of casualties, but the high morale of the Palestinian resistance attacking behind enemy lines where the Israelis are concentrating the forces. So we understand there is a high readiness of the Palestinian resistance. However, we're dealing with around 100,000 Israeli soldiers and officers and several hundred of tanks maneuvering in a very small area. So the question remains, once occupied, when they manage to occupy it, are they going to be able to remain? I don't think so.
So how does an army then fight a guerrilla warfare?
I beg your pardon?
So how does an army, given what you were saying there, how does an army then fight a guerrilla warfare? How are they going to be able to fight awaiting Hamas, who are waiting for them in these tunnels?
Well, there are the Americans who are telling us that they are offering experience. Particularly, they have gathered large experience in Afghanistan and in Iraq, and they know how to deal with tunnels. I don't think the Americans have larger experience than the Israelis, because the Israelis have experienced Hamas in the past and the Palestinian resistance, but they have to go into the city to occupy it. Now, they have set two very high objectives. First, destroy Hamas. Secondly, free the hostages. Neither nor objectives are going to be possible to realize. First, they are endangering the hostages and the prisoners. All the captives are in danger. Already we know that 57 of them have been killed by the same Israeli bombardment. Secondly, Hamas is part of the society. They cannot remove part of the society from Gaza. Therefore, these two targets are almost impossible to achieve. Now, if they manage to divide Gaza in two and try to register some kind of victories and make the war very short, then they can say, okay, now we can stop, or we can sit and negotiate with the hostage, to release the captives. However, dealing with all the traps and all the rebels that they have brought down and that the Palestinian resistance are using as a trap to the advanced forces, we've seen how the Palestinian resistance are coming out and engaging man-to-man with the Israelis, who are pulling out, and they telling us that they have lost so far 20 soldiers and officers in the battlefield. And we are just starting the beginning of the invasion, and we don't have an intensity of fighting in urban areas. So this is why we have the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, and the Chief of Staff telling us that it's going to be painful and it's going to be long, and they're calling the Israeli society to be patient. Now, the Israeli society doesn't have a lot of patience to see the Israeli army venturing into Gaza. They prefer for the Israeli army to bomb Gaza from far and not lose further soldiers inside the city, because they understand by occupying street by street with a highly density urban area, unless they want to destroy it and continue with their massacres as they have done with Jabalia, then it's going to be difficult for them to take this northern part of the city, but it is not impossible.
Well, I guess time will tell what kind of victory will be enough for Israel. Elijah Magnier, thank you for joining us.